Predator Killer of Killers was once again directed by Dan Trachtenberg following his success with Prey. This man is writing the ship for the Predator franchise, it feels like. I mean, I don't know how good Badlands is, but I am hopeful. For when I see it, I'll probably do a video. But the screenplay for this was written by Miko Robert Rattare, and Trachtenberg and Rattare created the story together. The original characters were of course created by Jim and John Thomas. I know people will scream at me going, did you know? If I don't say that. It stars Lindsay Levanchi, Luis Ozawa, Rick Gonzalez and Michael Biehn. And I was surprised by Michael Biehn appearing in the credits. But this is one of those that ticks so many boxes for me. I enjoyed The Animatrix because the fact that that gave you some of the backstory on, you know, the whole disagreement, shall we say, between computers and humans, and you got some character stories expanded upon, things like that. But the one thing that does, that this doesn't, is kind of, it's very much standalone. You cannot watch it, and the Matrix films won't be affected. There is something I'm going to talk about much later in case people don't want a particular spoiler that might mean this doesn't necessarily stand on its own. That's about as vague as I can be, I think. But what I also love about this, and this ticks another big box for me, if you've been on this channel for any length of time, you know I love me an anthology. And this is an anthology because the Predator is a killer of killers. They often do not hunt non-combatants. However, at the end of the film, the fact that you have them fighting against each other to become the killer of killers, it's such a good title, but it also factors in the fact that, yes, we are going to see vignettes of different people before the overarching narrative resolves that. And I think this is a really well done anthology from that point of view. Each of the individual stories, we start in Scandinavia, we then move to Japan, and then into the World War II territory before coming to the Outer Home planet. Like, all of this is so well put together that each of the stories stands on their own, and all the performances, animation, action, Predator designs, they all make sense in the time period and setting that they are. It's clear that they've looked and gone, like, this is technology, this is what we can use, the weather conditions might be like this, so we'll prepare for colder weather or whatever it may be. It's so well done in that, but then you have these little bits in the between, like tiny little moments, like, oh wait, there's a killer, a killer. It's because I'm thinking about Killer of Killers. There's a collar that you suddenly see appear on Ursa, and it then moves into the Japan thing, and then you see the collar on that character, etc. And that leads into that narrative. They've all actually been brought out of cryogenic freezing of some type and are now being put into a death match for this leader, whether it's a clan leader, whatever role he is. He's obviously a position of authority with this big sort of dread coat looking thing. It's so well done. Like, I'm smiling because I'm remembering it and feeling the emotions of, like, this is so engaging and so interesting to watch. And the fact that it doesn't hand wave away something that a lot of sci-fi does. Much of sci-fi kind of goes, well, you know, they'll have like a universal translator and that'll all be fine, you know, they'll all understand each other. That isn't the case here. We have 9th century Scandinavian dialect of some description being used, whilst also someone is talking in 17th century Japanese, and another person talking in 20th century American English, and then you've got the Ouch people speaking in their own tongue. No one understands each other verbally, but that makes all of the action also work as communication. And that's why even the final section, the sort of wraparound, overarching bit, that's why that works so well. It doesn't try and make life easy, it makes it believable. This is an entirely fantastical tale. This thing has never happened in our lifetime and probably won't, not like this. It may not even happen in the future, even if we do find extraterrestrial life. Hopefully not, because I don't want to be hunted by aliens. And I don't want my, descendants to be either. But still, this is such a fantastical tale that a lot of the real stuff has to really be real. And that's, again, another reason why I appreciate them doing not the easy road. Make it so that none of them understand each other and they've still got to work together. And the one thing that I do want to talk about, which I said, the end, so if you don't want that little thing spoiled to you, literally go away, watch it, come back, and then go, oh, okay, I know exactly what you're about to talk about, because it's pretty obvious if you've watched it. And I should have looked at the character name, that's on me, it'll probably be below me as I'm saying this to further embarrass myself. Thanks future me for trying to save my skin a little. But the character from Prey is there in stasis. And that might be picked up in a future entry. I don't know if Badlands will pick it up. From what I've seen, it's unlikely, but not outside the realms of possibility at all. But it might be a future entry. I get the feeling Trachtenberg might have a lot of plans for this. Not to turn it into a full-on MCU style thing where you're incorporating everything, but it can be its own little narrative, its own little world that is built upon, iterated on. Things are called back and set up both ways constantly. I mean, the fact that we do have the gun, you know the one, in the film. It's such a love letter to what's come before, but also a really good way of showing us what we can expect. So Trachtenberg has brought back a lot of faith, a lot of hope, a lot of goodwill that the Predator franchise needed after a few clunkers between the first couple and Prey. And I am so here for it. So thank you for letting me talk about this. As you can tell, I'm really into it, and I can't wait to see Badlands. But let me know your thoughts. Like, did you think that the wraparound story didn't work as well? Would you have preferred it to be translated? Did you prefer one vignette over the others? Do let me know all of that below. But until next time, as always, thank you for watching, and take care.